A chief of Inde named Ingita had a son named Ayonkita, whose mother had died at his birth. The old chief was a hunter who took pride in taking his only son with him when he went into the bush. He did most of his hunting in the long grass which grew in nearly all parts of the county. During those times, guns didn't exist, so the chief had to shoot everything he saw with his bow and arrows. This required a lot of skill. When his little son was old enough, he gave him a small bow and arrows and taught him how to shoot. The little boy was very quick at learning, and by continually hunting lizards and small birds, he soon became an expert in using his little bow and could hit them almost every time he shot at them. When the boy was 10 years old, his father died. Automatically, this made him the head of his father's house, and he was in authority over all the slaves. The slaves became very bitter and dissatisfied, and they made plans to kill him, so he ran away into the bush. Having nothing to eat, he lived for several days on the nuts which fell from the palm trees. He was too young to kill large animals, and only had his small bow and arrows, with which he killed a few squirrels, bush rats, and small birds, and so managed to live. One night, when he was sleeping in the hollow of a tree, he had a dream. In his dream, his father appeared and told him that there was plenty of treasure buried in the earth somewhere, but being a small boy, he was frightened and did not go to the place. One day, sometime after the dream, he continued roaming the forest, traveling on foot further away from home. He had walked far and became thirsty, so he went to a lake. He was about to drink water from the lake when he heard a hissing sound and a voice telling him not to drink. He looked around without seeing anyone. Fear gripped him and he ran away without drinking the water. Very early the next morning, when he was out with his bow trying to hunt small animals, he met an ugly old woman with long white hair. She was so ugly that he thought she was a witch, so he tried to run away. The woman cautioned him, telling him not to fear. My child, do not fear. I have only come to help you. I know of the troubles you have gone through since your father died. I know of how your slaves maltreated you and plotted to kill you. I know the whole story of how you roamed the roads with no one to help you. My son, I have only come to help you. I have come to help you rule over your late father's house. But how do you know all these things about me? He asked with fear in his voice. He had never seen such a creature before. He also never believed in fairy tales and spiritual mumbo jumbo. But after being in the presence of something he could only term as supernatural, his mind was slowly changing. He might as well ask some questions. Is that your biggest concern right now? The woman said and laughed. You have bigger things to worry about, my child, and that is what you chose. I am the woman who called out to you at the lake not to drink. I did that because there was a bad juju in the water, which would have killed you. He listened as the old woman spoke. There was something about her that he could trust. Besides, she saved him from drinking the water from the lake, so he tagged along as the old woman led the way. The old man then took Ayong to a stream some little distance from the lake, and bending down, took out a small shining stone from the water, which he gave to him, at the same time telling him to go to the place which his father had advised him to visit in his dream. When she was sure that she had gained his full attention, she spoke out. When you get there, you must dig, and you should not stop until you find plenty of money. You must then go and buy 2 strong slaves, and when you have got them, you must take them deep into the forest away from the town and get them to build you a house with several rooms in it. Then place the stone in one of the rooms, and whenever you want anything, all you have to do is go into the room and tell the stone what you want, and your wishes will be granted. Ayong did as the old man told him to do, and after much difficulty and danger, bought the two slaves and built a house in the forest, taking great care of the precious stone which he placed in an inside room. Then from time to time, when he wanted something, he would go into the room and ask for a sufficient number of frogs to buy what he wanted, and they were always brought at once. This went on for many years, and Ayong grew to be a man. He became very rich and bought many slaves, having made friends with the Aro men, who in those days were slave merchants. After 10 years had passed, Ayong had quite a large town and many slaves. But one night the old man appeared to him in a dream and told him that he thought that he was sufficiently wealthy and it was time for him to return the magic stone to the small stream from whence it came. And he did. Ayong, although he was rich, wanted to rule his father's house and be the head chief for all the in the county. So he sent for all the juju men in the country and two worthy wizards, and marched with all his slaves to his father's town. They only knew him by the wealth he had amassed. Before he started, he held a big feast and told the wizards and juju men to point out any slave who had a bad intention and who might kill him when he came to rule the county. Then the juju men consulted together and pointed out 50 of the slaves, who they said were witches and would try to kill Ayong. He at once made them his prisoners and tried them by the ordeal of the cerebine, a strong poison, to see whether they were witches or not. It is said that non-witches, when tried with the poison, will vomit it and not die. As none of the 50 men could vomit the beans, they all died and were declared to be witches. He then had them buried at once. When the remainder of his slaves saw what had happened, they all came to him and begged his pardon and promised to serve him faithfully. Although the 50 men were buried, they could not rest. They made it their mission, even in death, to trouble Ayong very much. And after some time, Ayong became very sick. Again he sent for the juju men, who told him that it was the witches and wizards who, although dead and buried, had the power to come out at night. They came to suck Ayong's blood, which was the cause of his sickness. Then they suggested, "We are only 3 juju men. You must get 7 more of us," making the magic number of 10. With the strength of the powers we conjure, we will deal with these witches. When the 7 joined, they dug out the bodies of the 50 witches and found that they were quite fresh, looking undead. Then Ayong had big fires made and burned them one after the other. Afterwards, he gave the juju men a big present. He soon after became quite well again and took possession of his father's property and ruled over all the county. Ever since then, whenever anyone is accused of being a witch, they are tried by the ordeal of the poisonous cerebine, and if they can vomit, they do not die and are declared innocent. But if they cannot vomit, they die in great pain. The events in his life made Ayong learn to think outside the box and believe in things he could not even see. His newly opened mind helped him greatly in becoming a great king. He ruled his people for long, and they all loved him.